All right, we're back here on New York Game Day. Jake Asman and Mike Tannenbaum, who will join us in the 9 a.m. hour. And joining us right now in an interview I'm recording live from Radio Row is the guy who essentially invented Radio Row. That, of course, is the great Christopher Mad Dog
Little
Russo.
strong there, Jake, with
Hello,
inventing
doggy.
it, but we've been here a long time. How's that sound?
How
Doing
many
these
Super
shows.
Bowls have you now been to?
90 I started, so that was 24. San Francisco, Denver, 89 season, 90 game. So that's 24. What number is this? 60?
60.
60. So that's 36. I did not go to the one in Tampa when the Bucks beat Kansas City, pandemic year. So I didn't go to that one. So I don't think they had a Radio Row. I don't think anybody went. But so since 1989, I've been at these games. That's amazing. Now I know some people. My buddy Joe Brown, who was the deputy commissioner for a long time, Tagliabue and Goodell and Rozelle. He had been at every Super Bowl since Super Bowl II, and Clark Hunt's mother was at every Super Bowl from 1966. So there was a few, and there was a few writers. We've lost a few lately. Jerry Eisenberg, for instance, was at every one. But, listen, that's pretty good, 1989.
Not
every
bad.
single one.
Now, when you look at this Super Bowl, do you like the matchup? Are
No,
you
I
excited
don't.
about it?
I do not like the matchup. They've played these two franchises in the past. I don't think it's. I think it's really. I'm not knocking Darnold, but the Super Bowl is about him, and I don't think that is that sexy. I think the Rams Super Bowl against Patriots with the two MVP candidates would have been a lot better. Rams are kind of a fun team. I think New England comes in here as a huge underdog in the game. I'm not saying I don't give him a chance, because with Vrabel and Mays, great, got a chance to be great. I give him a chance. But I think if you look at it, if they played 10 times, Seattle wins 7 or 8 times. Yeah, Seattle's is better. They had a better schedule, better division, better conference, better performances in a postseason. So I think Seattle's a solid and deserves to be favored. So because of that, I'm not in love with the game. I don't expect a lot from the Patriots in this game. Plus, I also believe in karma. Seattle's owed one with New England. They should have won the one 10 years ago when somehow Carroll didn't hand the ball off to Lynch and they threw the pass and Butler had the interception. So I like Seattle in the game.
What do you make of this Patriots team, Doggy? Because on one hand, the record's unbelievable. Here they are in the Super Bowl, yet their path to getting here, as easy as it could get from with the teams they play. They faced a backup quarterback in Jared Stidham in the AFC title game.
Right.
And if you look at their regular season schedule, just go through the top 10 of the NFL draft
terrible.
order, including the Jets twice. I mean, they beat up on some of the worst teams you'll ever see in the regular season.
That's what happens when you have a terrible year the year before. I mean, they beat they beat Tennessee, they beat the Saints, they played the NFC South. That division stinks. Carolina, Atlanta. We thought their big win of the year was at Tampa. Well, Tampa turned out to only win 8 games. I'm with you 100%. I mean, and of course, they've only averaged, about 17, 18 points offensively in the last 3 playoff games. They got a gift touchdown by Jones on the interception with Stroud, who basically handed the game to him in the divisional round with that defense playing as well as they did, the Houston defense. They got a break with Peyton not kicking the field goal, which was stupid. It's 7-0. You got to kick the field goal there. Instead, he goes out there and he doesn't. That drove me crazy. And he gives up the 3 points, a 10-0 lead. So I think the Patriots are a good team, but I do think they're the JV in this scenario compared to Seattle. Seattle beat the Rams twice the last 5 weeks of the year. Seattle beat San Francisco twice the last 5 weeks of the year. Seattle's had a relatively difficult schedule, best division in football, even with Arizona in it. The two teams, I thought Seattle and the Rams were playing for the Super Bowl last week when I thought the winner was going to win the game. I think the Rams are the second best team in the league. So I think the Patriots are walking into a tough spot. Now, again, Vrabel's going to use this. He's hearing this stuff all week. He's going to put it on his bulletin board. So his team's going to go out there thinking that nobody respects him. He'll play that card. That will work. And that will be some effect there. May is very, very good. This is a good, solid team. But I think the Seahawks are coming into their own, and I would be surprised. Listen, they got to beat them. Anything can happen in one game. We've seen it. But I think Seattle's the better team.
Christopher Mad Dog Russo with us here on 880 ESPN New York, the final New York game day of the 2025 NFL season. Let's talk about the local teams while we have you, Chris.
Why not?
Your thoughts on...
Take about 5 minutes.
Well,
go ahead.
Giant fans, at least, they have some optimism now
do.
with the Harbaugh hire. What was your take on that?
Made sense. Had to do it. He gave them credibility. The Giants had gone the assistant route a lot. Judge, McAdoo, obviously Dable, all three turned out. Shermer only had the 1 year, and it turned out to be bad. They needed an experienced, adult, successful. He's not a Hall of Fame coach, but they needed that kind of guy in the room. They could not let him walk. They did a very, very good job of making him the head coach. It's something that the franchise had to do. So that was a step in the right direction. Do I think he's a Hall of Fame coach? No. Do I think he's not at the moment. Do I think he's a great coach? No. I don't think he's but he's a good, solid football coach.
Do you like Jackson Dart as his quarterback?
Yeah, I do. I'm not sure to say that Jackson Dart's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, I think New York Giant fans, based on 12 starts, are putting Dart on a little higher level than he's earned. But I think he's, you can win. I think, he gives him some electricity. He's got a spark to him. I got to see more. But, yeah, I like what I see. I think the Jets are in big trouble.
Well, I'm a Jet fan. You know that.
I think I hate to say this. I think Glenn stinks.
He should have been fired.
I really should have.
It's a little awkward for me because Mike's going to join us in a little bit.
Yeah,
Mike's the one who
Mike loves
him.
But Mike loves him. And I love Tannenbaum, but he stinks. His fires his whole staff, his game management. He's done an awful job.
Well, he tried to act like your guy Bill Parcells coming
in the room, like, we're going to do it my way. I don't want to hear from you. Can't do that when you don't win. His best game was the first game when they played well and lost. Now listen, if Johnson couldn't, Parcells, I'm sure, had a lot to do with him getting a job to begin with, because Parcells and Glenn, I'm sure Johnson went to Bill and asked him his opinion. He played for Bill, so Bill probably gave him a glowing report, but he stunk. And he had a lot of good candidates available here this offseason. You could have made the argument, like the Patriots did with Mayo, to jettison the hell out of there and get somebody else in. Now, if I'm a Jet fan, I am very, very concerned. No quarterback on the horizon. You can't, a kid from Oregon I wouldn't have drafted anyway. He stays back in school. Mendoza's going to the Raiders. You have no quarterback anywhere, shape, or form. Your head coach has not shown you any ability to run a game, to hire a decent staff, and you're stuck with him at least another year. I think you're in big trouble. I think the Giants have some hope. Harbaugh's a professional. He'll stabilize things. He'll give you a good chance to win games, and Dart's got a chance to be good. Plus, they got some decent players. Neighbors, Scattaboo, Carter, Burns. They got a pick. They got left tackle. They got some decent players. The Jets have a good offensive line, but the Jets stink. And they got a bad coach, and they got a second pick with no quarterback available.
Well, they got 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years.
Listen, I agree with the trades they made.
But
they got to come with a quarterback.
There's no path to a quarterback this year. You look ahead to next year. I mean, like, for me as a Jet fan, doggy, my optimistic take is, hey, if Glenn's bad for another year, you'll be positioned to get one of these quarterbacks a year from now. Hopefully pair that up with a coach who actually wants the job with all the resources you have.
The kid from this LSU who transferred from Arizona State's got a chance to be a good quarterback. Maybe the Oregon quarterback better than you think.
Julian Sain,
Ohio
State.
Is a possibility.
And how about Arch Manning?
Manning.
Do you think the Mannings would ever let their son or their nephew, in the case of Cooper,
well, that's a good point.
or in the case of Eli and Peyton, would they let him play for the Jets?
I remember one thing about Manning. He was very, very average this first year. He wasn't great. He was not great against Georgia. He was not great against. It's the first game he played, Ohio State. He had a great second half against Texas A&M, but he wasn't wonderful. I got to see more from him. But overall, if I'm a Jet fan, Jake, I'm very worried about my team.
I'm right there with you.
Very concerned.
Christopher Mad Dog Russo with us here on New York Game Day. We're recording this live from Radio Row ahead of Super Bowl LX, which, of course, by the time the radio audience hears this, will be kicking off later today. Chris, for you, what is your take on the layout now for what the game has become Super Bowl-wise? Are you a fan of, like, the build-up? Because when you were starting to come to these Radio Rows, as we talked at the beginning, it was just you and it was just you guys as, like, the only, kind of band in town, you and Francesa. So now seeing this, we're in a giant convention center. You got every media outlet that's ever existed in one spot. Are you a fan of what the game has become?
The NFL is a fan, and that's all that counts, whether I like it or not.
They charge $1,100 for Wi-Fi to be able to record shows in here, which is insane.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I know a lot of radio shows don't come anymore on the West Coast because they can't get anything done at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's very expensive, to send your crew out there, but it gives you something to talk about for a week. They're going to get 110 million people watching. It's less about the game, as you said, more about the things around the game, including the halftime, Wasn't the case back in 1989. So Madden wouldn't like this necessarily. The first one we did it in the Hyatt lobby of the New Orleans Hyatt with the Niners and the Bengals, and Madden and Summerall came by and gave us a half hour. Think about that for a minute. You think you're going to get a half hour? You think Tirico and Collinsworth are going to go by and do Radio Row and do 30 stations? We had Madden and Summerall that week come by and sit right there across from us at the Hyatt for a half hour. Shula sitting there for a half hour. You don't get that anymore, and you lose that closeness of it. But listen, it keeps everybody. It keeps more people employed. It gives you something to talk about. It keeps the needle moving. It's a good sports topic. What else are you going to do this week? You're not going to go break down Nebraska and Illinois in college basketball. So from that standpoint, why not? So I understand there's a lot more folks who have voices, but I can understand why it is so successful and why people are drawn to it. But it's still the game. The game is still the highlight. Last year's game was terrible. It was over, second quarter. So you need a good game to sort of really put a bow on the weekend. And hopefully, I don't love the matchup. I think Seattle will win. But hopefully the Patriots are right there in the fourth quarter on Sunday afternoon, or this afternoon, I should say.
Couple quick hitters for you before we wrap. Your take on Belichick not being in the Hall of Fame.
And Kraft didn't make it either, which is another thing.
Right.
It's a joke. First off, Kenny Anderson, I saw him play constantly. He's not a Hall of Famer. Right. Sorry, he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. Good quarterback. He's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's number one. Roger Craig is a borderline running back. I know I loved Craig, and I think for a period of time he was. I'm not sure. He was a very good back. Obviously it's a large room now, the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's necessarily a great player either. Belichick has got to be in the Hall of Fame. The voting thing stinks. You can't have the players up against the coaches and the contributors. So you have three players and Kraft and Belichick. You only can vote for three of them. And you realize that Belichick's going to make it eventually, as is Kraft. You think Kraft, he's 84, you hope. So you have to vote for the three players, because if you don't vote for, who's the third player? I forget who the third player is.
I don't even remember.
Anderson and Craig. So if you don't vote for the three players, L.C. Greenwood.
Yep.
If you don't vote for the three players, well, they're never going to get in. It's their one chance. So everybody says, well, I want to throw them a bone, so I'm going to vote for the three players. Belichick will get in next year. So it makes it a disaster.
Right.
The whole thing is convoluted. The Hall of Fame is terrible. They do a terrible job.
I don't like the secrecy of it as well.
It's a joke.
The vote should be transparent.
Absolutely. This is not world politics, okay? This is not the Russian-Ukraine war. Tell us who you voted for crying out loud. Oh, it drives you nuts.
It does.
Does you drive you
All
crazy.
right, this is a football show, Doggy, but I got a ton of listeners out there who are baseball fans. They know you are the go-to guy in terms of talking baseball. You're one of the few guys that actually could get ESPN to talk about baseball on First Take when you're on with Stephen A. Your thoughts on the off seasons that both the locals, the Yankees and the Mets, have had?
The Yankees have been quiet, but they're counting on Cole bouncing back. They have very good starting pitching. Williams and Weaver, I can't go crazy about losing those two. Bellinger re-signing. They stuck it to 5 years. It worked. The Yankees are, I understand that Cashman is out. Well, no, you're not a great team. And Grisham's not going to hit 32 home runs again. All right, so and Bellinger did not. He's a bad postseason hitter. He's a 212 postseason hitter in about 70 games. So keep that in mind too. But they're going to be good. The Yankees are the Yankees. Judge is going to carry them. Cole will bounce back. Fried, they got good starting pitching. They'll figure out the bullpen. The Yankees will be a good team. Are they a championship team? No, but they're a playoff team. There's a lot of teams that make the playoffs. The Mets, it's a little bit of a crapshoot with the Mets. I'm not as big a Peralta fan as everybody else is. He's a 5-inning pitcher. I've never looked at him in postseason play saying, wow, we got to face Peralta today. We're in trouble. So I think that's a little overrated in my eyes. They gave up Alonso. They don't really have a first baseman. Bichette's a good hitter. He's never played a game at third base in his life. Simeon's not been as good. They made a lot of changes. I don't necessarily think all of them are good. So the Yankees, listen, they brought back Bellinger. They got Cole back. They'll be decent. The Mets are a little bit of a wait-and-see proposition. It's almost like the Mets are doing it two different ways. It's almost like you got the idea that Cohen got worried because of the idea that he got so much abuse at the beginning of the process that he went out there and he figured he was going to, I better spend money now because all the fans are getting on me. And Stearns wants to run it like the Brewers. So it's almost like they kind of don't know exactly what they want to do. But, We'll see about the Mets. Yankees would be a pretty good team.
You got so much heat for the take on Alonso breaking the home run
I
record,
was
not
turned
being a
out
big
to be
deal.
right.
And guess what? They didn't even sign him. They didn't even value him being a forever Met.
100%.
So that take aged correctly.
And not only that, he tells basically Strawberry to go to hell. Strawberry, whatever he said to him when he had on the bat. I mean, he opted out 5 seconds after their season was eliminated by the Marlins. The Mets throwing him parades because he hit 200 and some odd home runs. What an absolute waste of time that was. And the Mets didn't even re-sign him. So if he was that important, why didn't you re-sign him? So there you go.
All right,
100%.
last one for you. You ready for this? You're watching this game later today. Will there be a gummy, and what is the food spread at the Doggy household?
Well, it's just going to be my lovely wife and me, and she'll be wrapped up with her silly little boxes, because to make sure she can win the quarter and a half. She'll have some food. I'll have to watch the game with her, and she'll be wrapped up on the halftime, and she'll be wrapped up on the commercials, and I can care less about it. I care about the game. I'll tell her. 2 years ago, and it's her birthday today, or it was this week on the 3rd, Jean Russo, 2 years ago, she didn't know what they did when the game finished tied with San Francisco and Kansas City. I said, Jeannie, they're not going to stop the game and not declare a winner. They're going to figure out a way to win the game. So that is something to have some fun with. But just her and I, no kids around. So there you go.
You enjoy the game. You're the best.
You're the best, buddy.
Christopher Mad Dog Russo, our guest on New York Game Day. Quick break. Back with more right here on 880 ESPN New York.